to run for another term. The Atlantic publishing an excerpt from her new book, 107 Days, and she writes this. It's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. And Yemisi Egbewole is the former chief of staff to the White House press office under President Biden and Podium Strategies founder now. So, Yemisi, okay, I know that in some situations you say, okay, what is the boss saying that we're going to do? What is the boss's decision? And then we execute on that plan. But what she's saying now is not at all what she was saying during the campaign. And if she had said some of these things then, might the outcome have been different?
I'm not so sure she even had the room to do that. I mean, when we think back to that infamous interview she had on The View right after the Democratic National Convention, and they were asked, what would you do differently than President Biden? She wasn't able to give an answer. And that really has to do with the position she was put in as vice president. I think it's great that she's getting to set the narrative now. I think her race, 107 days, has been one of the most talked about things in politics, and everyone has given their opinion on it, and we're finally going to hear directly from her what she thought about that.
So to preserve time, I'm not going to play that, but that it was on The View. And Sunny Hostin was, what some of the Democrats said, oh, you lost the election for Kamala Harris for asking such an outrageous question. It was kind of a shock as a communications person to look and say, Kamala Harris couldn't think of one thing she would do differently when every election is about change. She also said this, call for one. Their thinking was zero sum. If she's shining, he's dimmed. And none of them grasped that if I did well, he did well. That given the concerns about his age, my visible success as his vice president was vital. His team didn't get it. She complains also about a couple of things. One, she says that staff turnover was normal. It didn't feel normal when the Washington Post is writing about it every 6 weeks that she was having a staff makeover. You were a chief of staff. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, I think the first year there was a lot of consistency on the Biden side. I mean, he's had people that have worked with him since the 70s and 80s. And so it was very noticeable, the people that kind of went in and out on the VP side. But I do think some of the things that she points out about the internal tension between the two teams, as you know, a president and vice president are oftentimes in competition. And I think it's going to be great to get to see how she was thinking, how her staff was feeling. I know about some of the internal battles that she was going through. And so it's going to be great to get her perspective, especially before President Biden writes a book, if he ever writes a book.
Do you think she wanted to beat him to the punch?
I do think that it is always smarter to get out ahead.
Okay. The other question is, do you think that the Biden team, whatever's left of them, will come out against her?
I don't think they'll fan the flames. I mean, listen, all press is good press. And so if you want to promote something and keep it in the zeitgeist and in the news cycle, you'll keep responding to it. So I think the best thing they can do is just let the book run its course and then let President Biden write his own words.
If you could rewind and go back to that View interview and you're advising her and you could anticipate that a question is going to be, what would you do differently? Is there anything that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I would say that she is somebody who's come up in politics during a different time than President Joe Biden, and he was the president that was right for the time coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and that America is on a new path, and I'm a new candidate that's going to set that new path forward.
But what policy-wise?
Well, I mean, one thing that I think she could have really hampered on is the economy and housing even more. It's not something that we did in the Biden administration. I mean, we presented Bidenomics, but it wasn't something that stuck around. I mean, do you even really remember it? I think she could have gone a little bit harder on how we're feeling with inflation. Inflation was this thing that we talked about. Yes, inflation was high, but that's not really our fault. Like owning a lot more things.
Okay. My last question for you. Do you think that this book gives her some distance so that in the future she could decide to run again?
I think that it makes people more sympathetic to the position that she was put in, but I'm not sure that it gives her an elevated political platform to join an already crowded field.
I love having you on the show. Yemisi, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dana.